This is Greg Hague, the Real Estate Maverick, and I am so honored today to be with Greg Williams. Greg Williams is like the total negotiation master. In fact, it's master negotiator, right?
And body language expert.
And body language expert. And Greg hit it out of the park today in a presentation to our roundtable, to the Harvey Mackay Roundtable, and was kind enough to come up and do a brief interview with me to share some strategies that are going to help you out there list and sell more homes. So first of all, Greg, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Amazing. So let's get started first with body language and maybe set up this way. When I'm in on a listing presentation, and listing presentation, of course, I'm telling homeowners why they should let me be the one to sell their home, okay? So particularly in the luxury home arena, higher end homes, I want to impress the home sellers. I want them to say to themselves, this is the guy that can relate to high-end buyers. This is the guy who can maybe read what the high-end buyers are thinking by their body language, or the other realtor who represents the buyers. So can you share a few strategies that I could share with the seller where the seller would say, oh my gosh, this guy is way smart? Okay?
First of all, you have to observe who really is the decision maker in that particular relationship.
Okay, fair enough.
And you simply can do that by observing some of the gestures. For example, you make a suggestion that they list with you, be the case, and let's say, hypothetically, in this case, the wife just touches the husband's leg at that particular point in time, or his hand, or something of that nature. She's actually indicating through that, well, you know, you might want my input. And thus she may be indicating with that gesture that she is going to have input into that final decision. It would behoove you to take note of that gesture in and of itself. Suppose all of a sudden, and let's say the woman is the person that's really, call it the decision maker in this case. And you make a proposal to her, and she looks at her husband, just glances at him for a moment, and then turns right back to you. She's seeking confirmation per whatever it is that she has said or is getting ready to say. Those are little simple signals that you can pick up on that some people miss from time to time simply because they're not paying attention astutely.
So the first thing is, and boy, does that make good sense, understand who the decision maker is,
Oh,
right?
definitely so.
Yeah.
Definitely
so. So again, let me go back. So the wife puts her hand, you notice the wife putting her hand on the husband's leg. What exactly is that? Is that signaling that don't make a decision without my input? Is that what she's saying?
Well, just that gesture in and of itself could mean I'm going to comfort you in this decision, which is still implying I'm going to lend some input to it. Or it could be, I want to have some authority in this decision-making process.
Gotcha.
So you have to be, so you take note of that particular gesture, then you observe what follows past that point, because you can have a conglomerate of gestures, and in observing more of those gestures. So let's say later on, she says something to him as you're actually talking to the man in this situation, and he just looks at her with somewhat of a harsh look. He's telling her, okay, I got this. So you pick up on those little nonverbal clues to get insight into the communications that's really occurring in that situation.
So that kind of a look, and I can picture that. I've seen people do that, is basically, it's maybe not a shut up, you know, that's maybe a bit harsh, but it's a, I love what you said, I got this, it's okay.
Exactly.
Just, I know what I'm doing here.
Exactly.
That's what that means, right?
And a double look, remember now, you're looking at cluster of body language signals. So several of those type looks could truly mean, shut up.
Shut up, okay.
So, and then again, if that be the case, it would behoove you at that point in time to really lend more attention to the man, or give some attention to her simply because later on she may have leverage, let's call it, in influencing his decision.
So I'm doing the listing presentation and talking to the sellers about why they should list with me. How can I look at their face, their actions, whatever? How can I determine if what I'm saying is having is resonating, having kind of a positive impact?
You can actually watch for smiles, frowns, contempt. Now, I turned the corner of my lip up just for a moment. That was a micro expression.
Right.
If someone doesn't believe or doesn't want to accept what it is that you're saying, they'll display it. And it'll be in that little momentary micro expression, and I'll do it on this side too. Just so
Okay, do
people
that
can see.
again. Do that.
Yeah.
Again. Okay. all
It
right.
was just that fast.
Mhm.
It will last less than a second. And in that little display, they're telling you, nah, I'm not
They're not
with the
buying it?
program.
They're
Yeah,
not buying
exactly.
it? Okay.
Or buying what aspect you're speaking of
Right.
at that particular point in time. Then, if you catch such a signal, you would either paraphrase what you just said a moment ago and or do something to see if you can change the demeanor of that individual.
Okay.
A lot of times people have said, well, if people have their arms crossed, that means they're not interested. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. You can always say something along the lines of, oh, that's a nice watch you have on. And, oh, may I see it? And look at the watch. And then all of a sudden, see what happens with those arms that were crossed before. Do the arms go right back into the cross position? Is the person comfortable or is the person cold? What's really causing the person to put the arms back there? Well, ask them. What would be the best offer that you would look for in order to actually list with me? See what happens with the arms in that case.
Right,
If the
right.
arms still stay there, you have a challenge on your
So
hands.
that is, the arms being crossed like that is an indication of not accepting what you're saying if they stay that way.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Especially after you have done something in an attempt to get them to alter that particular body language gesture,
Gotcha.
and they still maintain it.
You said something today in your presentation about people taking up space. Talk about that. That was fascinating to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever we wish to appear to be larger, we will do things that will make us appear larger, take up more space. And when you're actually talking to people in real estate, you can take note of that also because they're displaying a dominance. I want to be perceived as bigger than what it is that I normally am, and thus you need to give me the respect per the actions that I'm actually projecting. And then notice what happens when you give them the level of respect that they need. Do they become closed back in? And that closed gesture could also indicate, again, I got to protect myself. Notice what they do with their hands. If you're standing and they actually have their hands, let's say lower, they're protecting that part of their anatomy.
Down in here.
Yeah, exactly. They're protecting that part of their anatomy. If you say something along the lines of, the best deal I can offer is, and you throw out a number, and they go, oh, I don't think that's going to work. And you're talking to a man, he's touching his pocket, saying, I better hold on to my money. You know, so all of those nonverbal clues are cues that you can actually pick up on per what someone's thought process is at that particular moment in time.
Perfect. So if I want to project authority and trust, so authority and trust, where people would say this person is knowledgeable, authoritative, but I trust him, what would be some of the things from a body language standpoint I would do, or even how I dress, whatever, to project those two things?
Well, first of all, you can mirror the dress of the individual or something similar to what it is that he or she is going to have on, which will behoove you to know about that
Before you
time,
arrive.
obviously.
Okay.
Exactly. And if you happen to be overdressed, jacket on, and the people that you're speaking to are in a more relaxed mode, you take the jacket off.
Okay.
You become more of an image of what it is that they are like. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, understand through that person's demeanor if that person is an aggressive type or someone that's more passive. In order to obtain trust from that individual, you have to match their modality to a degree.
Okay.
In some cases, you will have to make an assessment as to whether or not you should lead that individual, attempt to lead that individual, or let that individual lead. Some people feel more comfortable out in front, as it were, and or you can lead from behind. So if I asked, for example, tell me exactly what the best offer might be. Now, you have 3 different strategies already in mind as far as how you're going to close that individual or those individuals. And they happen to start upon one of the path that you're on. Oh, interesting. Tell me more. You're building trust. Now, why are you building trust in that situation? All you're doing is parroting back to them, maybe in a paraphrased manner, what it is that they've just said. But people like themselves, and people sure enough like themselves in most cases when they feel as though they are leading some type of activity or environment.
Right. So I'm at the table, and again, I'm giving the sellers reasons why they should list with me. What are some, to kind of wrap up here, facial clues, anything else you can share that I can be looking for to see whether this is going over in a positive way or not?
Listen to exactly how they speak. Are
Okay.
they speaking from a verbal, kinesthetic perspective?
Okay.
Well, I don't know if this really feels good to me. Now, did you notice also I scrunched my face up a little bit at
Mhm.
the same time?
Mhm.
And then you might say something along the lines of, oh, why doesn't this feel good to you?
But
What
what
would
if
make
they
it feel
don't
better?
say that? How can I? A
Oh,
lot of times sellers won't. They're
okay.
just nice, they kind of listen, and then you leave, and it turns out they list with someone else. So how can I draw that out of them or read what they're thinking?
Okay. Greg, this has been a nice engagement. I think we're going to list with you. Do you not hear the hesitancy in that particular situation? And that's what you're listening for.
Mhm.
Points of agreement are usually displayed with a higher tonality in the voice.
Okay.
And notice the body language. Yes, we're going to list with you. Now
Mhm.
that's a commitment. Now, commitments last for as long as it takes to sign the
Right,
documents.
exactly.
And yes, you may have a commitment at that particular point in time, but if it's one that's here versus here versus here, now all I'm doing is leaning in to small degrees, but nevertheless, it's saying I'm close enough to you that I'm willing to trust you, getting back to that issue that you spoke of,
Mhm.
and it would behoove you to lean in also at that particular point in time to show we're coming together. You're saying that
Gotcha.
subliminally through
As
your
they
body
lean in,
language.
I lean in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because, and take note of what they do at that particular point in time,
Mhm.
because people will allow you to come into their space to a degree. To the degree they feel uncomfortable with you in their space, they'll back up a little bit. And if you're at the close and you actually say something along the lines of, so do we have a deal?
Mhm.
And they go, well, yes, we have a deal.
Mhm.
Now, did you see what I just
Yes.
did? Did
Kind of
everyone
backing up
catch
a
what
little,
I
backing
did?
up a little, yes.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
said yes as I was backing up. That's a cue that, wait a minute, I hear the verbiage, but
Right,
the
right.
body language suggested something else. 9 times out of 10, follow the body language. What that means right there is you should pick up on that cue of, yes, we have a deal, while literally backing away from the words and follow up with, you know, I sensed something just then. I heard you say yes, but somehow or
But
another.
is there anything bothering you? Is there anything you're not sure of?
Exactly,
Yeah, I get it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
To draw that out.
Exactly. And you can either lean away a little bit to see what they do, or lean in a little bit more, just a tiny bit, just to see
Mhm.
what they do. If they then start to lean in again, that means they're probably more engaged at that moment
Mhm.
to actually sign the deal. It would behoove you to ink that deal right then, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
it always behooves us to ink that deal right
Exactly. There you
then.
go.
So, Greg, how can my realtor community find you, get in touch with you, go to your website, learn more about what you do?
Okay. Well, I can be reached at Greg, that's Greg, at The Master Negotiator, which is TheMasterNegotiator.com. I wanted to make sure you guys were really watching. I can also be reached at 609-369-2100. And remember, you're always negotiating.
And remember, for me, with a guy like Greg, he teaches the cutting edge in reading body language and negotiating. And if you want to be on the cutting edge, you need to be asking yourself, it ain't about the normal. It's about, is there a Maverick in me?
Exactly. And per the Maverick in you, and you guys could slice this together later on, my latest book is Body Language Secrets to Win More Negotiations. Find it wherever fine books are sold.
Indeed, only fine books are sold, right?
Exactly.
And so I'll finish up the way I always do, and that is there a Maverick in you? Greg, thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg.
My pleasure.